ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमानि नगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ प्रतिबोधविदितं मतम् अमृतत्वं हि विन्दते आत्मना विन्दते वीर्यम् विद्यया विन्दते मृतम् So, pratibodha viditam matam, it is viditam, it is matam. Same thing. So what we have to understand is Brahman is matam. Brahman is known. How? When it is known, invariably present, it is known as invariably present in every cognition, pratibodha. Nobody asked me this question that pratibodha viditam matam. Viditam and matam, how can be together? They are synonymous. But anyway, let me clarify before somebody says to me, let me clarify this. Pratibodha viditam matam. So Brahman is matam. Brahman is a neutral word. So it is matam brahma, viditam matam, viditam brahma. It is known. Brahman is known as known in every cognition. Invariably present known as invariably present in every cognition. And amrutattvam hi vindate. Well, one who knows like this, one who knows Brahman like this, present as the subject, consciousness invariably present as a invariable consciousness within in every cognition, and which is nothing but Satyam Brahma, which we will have to establish, and which is nothing but Satyam Brahma. Well, if you don't understand it as a Satyam Brahma, knowledge is not complete, because in every cognition three factors are there. All the three are mithya, and you are Brahman, which is Satyam, and you only are in the form of knower, knowledge and known. That is to be very clear. Otherwise, it is not Brahma Jnanam. We call it as Akhandakara Vritti. That Akhandakara means there is no Khanda. There is no division in form of knower, known and knowledge. But where is the question of division? There is a division. Knower is not known. And even knowledge also is different from the knower. Everything is different. And therefore, then that is not, even if you are present invariably, consciousness. So what? So what? It is not the knowledge of whole. Knowledge of whole will be when you know that you are Satyam Brahma. So wherever whatever is mithya thing is there itself you are present. Well, we'll discuss that. That is how always Pujya Swamiji brings that Karana Karya Prakriya. He likes that Prakriya very much, and there is a reason for that. Karana Karya Prakriya only proves that everything is one. You have to understand Brahman as a material cause of the entire creation. And also you should know that Brahman is a material cause of entire creation, which is mithya. And Brahman is Satyam. That also is very much essential. Anyway, and that Brahman is this invariable consciousness which is Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc. And well, then you say, well, I am Satyam Brahma means I pervade knower, I pervade the known, I pervade the knowledge. All the three are non-separate from me, basically, and I alone is Satyam. So that is the knowledge of the whole. Knowledge of the whole is this. And therefore, we will have to understand in this way only. Then Amrutatvam hi vindate, well, we gains immortality from that cognition, knowing invariably present in the every cognition. He gains immortality. Atmana vindate viryam. One gains the capacity to know by oneself, Atmana. And well, thereafter, vidya vindate amrutam. There one gains immortality by knowledge. So this is all phalam. This is the jnana phalam. That we'll be talking later. Right now we are interested that everything is, present in cognition is one alone. That is our motto. We have taken an example of a dream in order to prove that dream model is very, very apt. I have already told you, for assimilating the fact that, well, subject, object, knower, known, everything is one. And we saw also that on waking, this dreamer discovers the dream subject as himself, that is consciousness, and dream also, object also is this, consciousness, that is himself. And so it is this presence of this invariable consciousness, the self, because of whom I am able to say, I wept, I am awake, I have dreamt, etc. I slept well. So, in dream, whatever is there is basically this consciousness, because ultimately the whole dream resolves into consciousness, and therefore during dream also it is consciousness, right? That in which everything resolves, that must be pervading everything. If all the parts resolve into the clay, or all the ornaments resolve into the gold, definitely gold only pervading when everything was there. And therefore it is the presence of this invariable. In dream, the dream consciousness, a dream space is consciousness, dream objects are consciousness, dreamer is consciousness, and that is how the whole dream experience, the knower, known, and knowledge in the dream is one consciousness. We are able to appreciate. This is our experience. And that is what we have to understand in a waking state also, in every cognition. Whatever is there in every cognition, that is me. That's what we have to understand. Then, well, you can say I am limitless. Otherwise, invariable consciousness is limitless. How will you say that? You can just pick up the words from the Shruti, that invariable consciousness is Brahman. And Brahman means, Swamiji, it is limitless. And therefore, invariable consciousness, the subject is limitless. But you are not able to appreciate by your heart. You may be borrowing the words. So you should understand that basically you have to bring Brahman as which is a Jagat Karanam. And that Jagat Karanam, Jagat is Mithya. And Brahman pervades everything. That Brahman is equated with the consciousness which is present in every cognition. And thereby you can say whatever is there in the waking state also, in every cognition, whatever is there is me alone. And to understand that, to appreciate that, we have brought the dream example. Could you follow that? So this is how our understanding should be. Anyway, so the knower, known, knowledge is one consciousness. And in dream, that's called Jyoti, Jyotir Brahman. That is in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Jyotir Brahmanam is there. The word Jyoti is very, very popular in Shastra as Atma. Word Jyoti is very popular in the language as an illuminator, Prakashakaha. It's different. Like Surya is a Jyoti, and then Agni is a Jyoti, and even Chandra and the moon is a Jyoti. Vidyut is a Jyoti, lightning is a Jyoti. You can say that because it illumines. It illumines the thing. In whose presence everything is known and in whose absence nothing is known is Jyoti. This is how defined. But that applies even to the Atma ultimately. In presence of Atma everything is known. And in absence of it, there is no question of absence. Absence of Atma, that is just a word. There is no absence. To approve the absence of Atma, you require Atma again. But without Atma, you cannot prove even the absence of Atma. Anyway, for the sake of saying. So in absence of Atma, well, nothing can be proved. Nothing can be known. Therefore, Atma also is Jyoti. In Shastra, in Mundaka Upanishad, and the word is used, Jyoti word is used, and in Brihadaranyaka also it is used, in some other Upanishad also. Even Bhagavan is used in, I think, chapter 13. Jyotishamapi tat jyotihi, etc., etc. I don't remember the verse number, 18 or some verse. Jyotishamapi tat jyotihi, Bhagavan said that. It is the Jyoti. Atma is the Jyoti of all the Jyotis. Because without Atma Jyoti, this so-called Jyoti also will not be known to you. Surya is known to you. The sun is there, which is known to you when consciousness is there. Moon is there, is known to you, this consciousness is there. Everything. And therefore, Jyotisham Jyotihi. So there are two things we should know. There is a Loka Prasiddhi and there is a Shastra Prasiddhi. So in certain words are very, very familiar in a transaction in the world, in common parlance. But certain words are familiar in Shastra, that they are not familiar outside. Like, this Jyoti. Word Jyoti or word Akasha, even word Akasha also. In a common parlance, Akasha means this Bhuta Akasha, space. But if you go to Shastra, mostly word Akasha means Atma. Several places. So same way Jyoti also. Anyway, so Shastra Prasiddha. This is Shastra Prasiddha. And we are talking about Shastra. And therefore we have to take the meaning of what is Prasiddha, what is familiar or familiar in the Shastra itself. Anyway, so this Jyotir Brahmanam, in this section, the Upanishad, dealing with this dream, presents that knower known knowledge in the dream is this Swayam Jyotihi. Well, in this light of consciousness, everything shines. The dreamer is not possible without consciousness. All the dream objects are within consciousness, and the very dreaming also is within the consciousness. And therefore, dream, dreamer, and dreamt, whatever is there, is nothing one consciousness. That is called Satyam Brahma. All the three are mithya. I'm talking about dream state. We'll be going to the waking state later. We have to talk about waking state. Pratibodha Viditam Matam talks about waking state. In every cognition, it is present. So that is the waking state we have to understand. Knowledge takes place in a waking state. So ultimately, we have to bring everything to the waking state. Yeah, you cannot all the time talk about sleep and dream state. So you have to bring to the waking state, but this works as an example. That's also our experience, and it will work as an example. And so dream, dreamer, and dreamt is nothing but one consciousness, and all the three are mithya, and consciousness is satyam. And because one consciousness cannot be the dreamer and dreamt. What is dreamer? Dreamer and object of dream cannot be one. That's very simple to understand. And if both of them are one consciousness, then both these are mithya. Both the things are mithya. Both opposite things become one. Means they are really not true objects. If they are real, then they cannot be. There cannot be one source of both. Right? Could you follow that? And therefore, basically, they are mithya. This is our logic. We can understand through logic. Of course, Shastra proves it's another thing. The Shastra will tell that everything has come out from Brahman. And anyway, so this is Satyam Brahma, I can tell in dream. And it is limitless, definitely. It's limitless because dream, it is dream space, dream objects, and dream, time, and the dreamer, everything. So it is limitless. So Satyam is nothing but this consciousness. The consciousness which is in the form of dreamer, etc. And now, as I told you, in the dream world, where does the consciousness end and the world begins? Dream world begins, you cannot tell. The whole world is consciousness. And that is why the dreamer dreamt, and the very dreaming is one thing alone. All the three are mithya. So object is consciousness, dream object is consciousness, dream subject, that is dreamer, is consciousness, and the very dream process also is consciousness. And that is called the whole. That we know very well. The whole dream is the whole. Same way, whatever is experienced right now, you are the subject. You are experiencer right now in waking state. Waker. And I am the object for you. Right? I am an object of the waking world right now for you. Then, well, definitely you are seeing me, and you are a seer, and I am the object of seeing, that is seen. Seer and the seen, well, both belong to, both form one consciousness, whole. Because you are not separate from the consciousness. The object, that is me, is not separate from the consciousness, and therefore one consciousness alone appears as a seer, seen, and the very seeing process, etc. Seeing, cognitive thought, let's say. All the three are one alone. That is consciousness. So, same way when one hears and smells, tastes, touches, etc., anything, the person and the object, the subject and the object both form the one whole, right? Now the problem is, but that consciousness which you are equating with this Satyam Brahma, etc., well, that consciousness is Shrotrasya Shrotram. That's where we stopped, if you remember. On Saturday, we stopped at that point, that this basically, it is Shrotrasya Shrotram, you said. Shrotrasya Shrotram means it is not the object of hearing and the organ of hearing. Both are distinct from this subject. We have told also like that. If you remember, I have given you the 5 features, and I have told you the very object of hearing, object of seeing, object of knowledge, let's say in general, object of knowledge and the organ, both are definitely, even organ is also object of knowledge. We have already discovered that. So organ also is a object of knowledge. The object in general also is outside is also object of knowledge, and that is inert. And the subject or the consciousness is never an object of knowledge. We have understood that way. If you remember the 5 features regarding inert objects, I have told you. And now we have discovered also the consciousness has 5 features, the opposite to the features of inert objects. That we have seen. So that is way, so object and subject, you have made a difference, right? We have made a difference, object and subject. And you said that subject, which is Shrotrasya Shrotram, is consciousness, and these are objects, and they are different from the subject. And now you are saying subject, object, both one consciousness? How can it be possible? Could you follow what I am saying? If you understand my question, that's good. My question is, you earlier only made a difference by Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc. Shrotram means an organ, this organ. Chakshusha Chakshu, first Chakshu, that which is in the 6th case, is this organ. And so organ of, all the organs of perception basically are object of knowledge for you. And therefore, to make a distinction and to define Atma, to define consciousness, to define subject, you have already said like this, Shrotrasya Shrotra. You have made a difference. First Shrotra is an organ of hearing, and the second Shrotra is basically the consciousness, right? We have seen that. And therefore, there you made a very clear distinction in mantra number 2 as a distinction between subject and object. And to arrive at the subject or a consciousness, you have clearly told this is organ of hearing, this is a organ of perception, and consciousness is very distinct from that. And definitely then objects also which you pick up through these different organs must be also their object, whereas subject is distinct from that. And here you are saying subject and object, everything is one consciousness alone. You have given an example of a dream also. Yes, that's correct. But that is the initial phase. We are answering now. That's the initial phase in which, because you have already identified with the organ of hearing. Because when I ask you, who are you? You are the subject. You mean subject. But you define yourself in terms of hearer, seer, and toucher, and the taster. These words are there or not? I don't. But this is how you are the subject, but you identify with the organ of hearing, organ of seeing, organ of touch, and to make a distinction, we have told you that. So because you are yourself, you know yourself as just as a hearer, seer, etc. And well, that's not your real nature. So in order to distinguish, in order to negate, it's not your real nature, and so in order to negate it, we have told you Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc., etc. But later, that consciousness, the subject, which is equated in later mantras, Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasati. Yat Chakshusha Pashyati Yena Chakshunshi Pashyati Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasati. Yat Shrotrena Narshunoti Yena Shrotramidagam Shrutam Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. We equated that consciousness after separating from organ of hearing everything. They are object of knowledge, you are the subject, but we have equated with the Brahman. That is Satyam Brahma. Brahman is Satyam, that has been told in the Shastra. And Satyam means it is Adhishthanam of everything, which is the cause of everything, and therefore it is in the form of subject and object both. The very organ of hearing is in consciousness. Is consciousness, is in consciousness. Why? It is consciousness. And the knower, the hearer also is a consciousness. And the very process of hearing is also consciousness. Object also is consciousness. Everything is consciousness, because you cannot find a limit of consciousness and object. You cannot find a distinction between subject, the hearer, and consciousness. Where is the limit? There is no limit. So in one consciousness alone everything is ultimately. So you are the one, basically, from which the seer, seen and seeing are non-separate. This is Brahmajnanam. By the way, please understand this. I am going to give some more points. This is Brahmajnanam. I am invariable consciousness in all cognition. That is not Brahmajnanam. Because you consider still in your mind, your appreciation is just a limited entity. You will say, I am a consciousness, but still limited entity. Then where is Brahmajnanam? There is no Brahmajnanam. Brahmajnanam means you should be able to proclaim that I am limitless. To say I am limitless, you have to cover everything. You are the seer, you are the seeing, you are the object of seeing, and you are the very process of seeing. That is all that is there is me. That is Brahmajnanam. Then only you can say I am limitless. For that you have to understand this consciousness as Satyam Brahma, as Jagat Karanam Brahma, and by that, Jagat is Mithya, and therefore you alone pervade everything. That's how this is a process of Brahmajnana. So it's okay. Pratibodha viditam matam. Pratibodha bodham prati yad viditam. So which is known invariably present in every cognition, that is invariable consciousness, where I understood it. But that consciousness is Satyam Brahma. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi, that is why it has been told from verse number 3 to verse number 9. Anyway, so I have clarified. The question we have raised in the verse, on Saturday, then that has been clarified now. And so, the first step is okay, Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc. But then the second step is that Shrotrasya Shrotram, which is invariable consciousness present in every bodha and every cognition, is self-evident Brahman, self-existent Brahman. And therefore, it is present all the time, self-evident. Means you need not have to wait for its evidence. And so one does not have to do anything special or wait for, a special time, place or experience to know Brahman, because Brahman is present in every experience. As a self-evident, means no effort, no torch is required. Whether in which corner it is lying, let me see that. Where it is not that. It is in the form of the known. It is in the form of a seen. It is in the form of a hearing object. It is in the form of a hearer. It is in the form of a seer. Whatever you are experiencing, that is Brahman. That's what it means. Whatever you are experiencing, and the very experiencer, and the thought of experience, particular experience, the cognitive thought, whatever is, everything is Brahman. And therefore, well, you don't require a special experience. You don't require a special time. You don't require a special place. And so this enlightenment or this, Atma Sakshatkara, Brahma Sakshatkara, Ishwar Sakshatkara is not an event. It's not an happening. It is not an happening. So nothing really happens. Whatever happens is mithya. Brahman is non-happening. That's all. Whatever happens is mithya. What are you speaking, Swami? What are you speaking? Do you think we are going to take it as it is? No, I am not taking it. I am not considering you like that. But whatever is happening is at the level of name and form. Anything happens at the apparent level. And the happening means change. Change happens at the level of form. Yeah, at the level of mithya. So whatever happens is mithya. Well, that non-happening Brahman is me. Nothing happens. That is how nirvikara. Nirvikara. No change occurs to that. If you remember, we have taken one of the feature in that inert objects is which constantly change is inert. Inert means mithya. And therefore, so that non-happening Brahman is Satyam. No change happens. And therefore, that is how it is Satyam. Satyam means no change, no happening. Happening means previous state gone, new state has arisen. Right? Previous state has gone, new state has arisen. If Brahman is told as a Satyam, then there should not be any change. No happening should be there. But Swamiji, we are seeing everything is happening in the creation. Yeah, it's at the level of just name and form. And which is, really speaking, it is mithya. And therefore cannot be considered. So a non-happening Brahman allows all the happenings and does not resist any happening. That is Brahman. Right? It allows. All the names and forms are sustained. Everything happens at the level of form. That form is sustained by basically Brahman. Non-separate from Brahman, which is mithya. And so, and doesn't resist. No resistance, because it is mithya, it is kalpana. So Brahman does not resist any happening at all. And it sustains all the happening. But Brahman itself does not undergo. Brahman, that is you, sir. That is you. And so you are basically one who is free from all the changes. What is free from all the changes is called Satyam. And therefore, definitely, bodham prati viditam bhavati. Brahman is in and through every experience, and it is known through every cognition. Now, you can understand this Shastra has used words which are very simple. If you see the words in the mantra number 4, you find it, the words are very simple. But with such a simple words, basically, matam, amatam, shrotrasya shrotram, etc. Even if you go to mantra number 2, Shrotrasya shrotram, chakshusha chakshuho, pranasya pranaha, vachoha vacham. Which word, even you and me, we have not to go to a even dictionary to find out. Chakshu means I know very well. Shrotra means I know. Vachaha means I know, etc. And then Atma is defined as vachaha vacham. So a vak of the vak, speech of the speech, etc. etc. Well, what I am saying is the words which are employed in order to define the self are very simple, known words. But the methodology applied in order to reveal the real nature of yourself is a unique thing. Employing simple words, but methodology is unique. Like vachoha vacham, shrotrasya shrotram, etc. is a unique way of presentation. And then equating with the Brahman, Tadeva Brahmatvam, with the etc., making it as a Mahavakya. Well, it is something really unique. It's an ingenious technique in order to reveal. And why are you calling ingenious? Because this so it has been told in such a way that there would not be a new concept arising for the self. It cannot arise. And still it arises, one will be a champion in this world. It is revealed as a consciousness and equating with the Brahman, which is Satyam. Satyam means it is everything. What Satyam means you cannot negate, and therefore it is the cause of entire creation. Names and forms. Names and forms are negated, they are mithya, and ultimately this Brahman is which is Satyam, and therefore in cognition also it is present. Whatever the factors are there in cognition, that is Brahman. And if you are able to appreciate, well, in every cognition I see invariably all the three, without which even the cognition cannot take place, and all the factors in the cognition is this Brahman. In fact, whole cognition is Brahman. Whole cognition is Brahman because all the three are Brahman. That way you are able to appreciate. Then where is the question of objectification of Brahman? Where is the question of now objectifying Brahman? No question. So, still people objectify means they are really champion. They are real champion. Champion people. So the known words are enough because what is to be known is invariable in all of them. And this is the method only is very, very unique. Now, the last part in this Brahma Jnanam is, let's understand this Brahman as a cause of everything. Then we will bring it to here. Brahman is consciousness, and then the consciousness is present in every cognition. Also, everything is Brahman in the cognition also. So, Brahman is introduced as a cause effect. Brahman is introduced as a cause. Cause is Brahman and effect is this Jagat. First we will go to Jagat, and then definitely here also everything Jagat. The thought is Jagat and the body is Jagat and everything is Jagat. That we will see later. So basically the Brahman is the cause of the Jagat, effect is the Jagat. And cause, of course, both the types, Nimittam and efficient, the efficient and the Upadana Karana, material cause. So if Brahman is if Brahman is consciousness, and thereby Nimitta Karanam is understandable, very simple to understand. A conscious being is a Nimitta Karana, efficient cause, because a efficient cause is a cause which has a desire, which has a knowledge, and which has a power and skill to create. So we can understand, that is a conscious being. Knowledge is possible in a conscious being. The desire is possible in a conscious being. And the skill, etc., everything is possible in a conscious being. We understand. And therefore, Brahman is consciousness, and therefore it is a Nimitta Karanam, efficient cause. I can easily appreciate. But the same Brahman is a material cause. That's a problem. Because we find the material, the attributes of the material are present even in the effect. Attribute of material is present in the effect. If it is this jabba is made up of cotton, then definitely after making this jabba also, what are the attributes of the jabba? Cotton. If it is made up of a cotton material, there will be cotton here. If it is made up of a silk, the silk will be there in the jabba. So, Karana Gunaha Karya Anuvartante. This is our axiom. Karana Gunaha, attributes of the Karanam. Karanam is this Upadan Karan, material cause. Will be present even in the Karya, the effect. And therefore, basically, the conscious being Brahman, you are saying material cause? That is not, we cannot, no one can agree to that. Because if it is a material cause, then it should pervade the entire effect. Material pervades the effect. Then consciousness should pervade the entire effect, but the entire world is basically inert. Entire world is inert. Then Brahman cannot be the material cause. Because Karana Gunaha Karya Anuvartante. Brahman is consciousness. And therefore consciousness should pervade every name and form. But we find everything is inert. It's not conscious. And therefore basically we say the effect is mithya. It's not a real effect. It is not a real effect. Effect and the entire Jagat is mithya. That's just an appearance. It is born of the Maya. It is not really the Brahman has transformed into the world. Jagat, we have seen this in the Tattva Bodha. And therefore, I am not going to go in this whole process again. I will tell you shortly. Brahman cannot be the material, cannot be the cause. Brahman cannot be the cause. Where is the question of material cause? Brahman cannot be the cause of the Jagat. Because there is no Jagat which has come out of the Brahman. If the Jagat has come out of the Brahman, then you have to think of the attributes of the cause should pervade the entire effect. Well, there is no Jagat act really created, and therefore there is no question of we are not obliged to answer this question. So Brahman through Maya alone, this becomes a cause of the creation, and if Maya being what it is, and therefore basically Maya alone pervades this. Maya is Upadana Karanam, of course, and then we call Brahman as Upadana Karanam. But so Maya is a Parinami Upadana Karanam. I have discussed all these things. I am just reminding you. Maya is a Parinami Upadana Karanam, and therefore Maya undergoes a change. What was there in unmanifest can become manifest. Unmanifest is Maya, and manifest is the creation, the world. What is the difference? It is just a difference of the state. And therefore, basically, that is all Maya. And therefore, Brahman has nothing to do with this creation. Therefore, don't say that creation is inert and then how can Brahman be the cause? Brahman is not a real cause. Anyway, and therefore, the Jagat is Mithya. And Jagat is proved to be Mithya like this, by telling Brahman is the cause ultimately, because it is not real cause. And so, now that is how basically Brahman is Satyam, the Jagat is Mithya. Cause, and the very causal status of Brahman is Mithya. Not Brahman is Mithya, causal status of a Brahman is Mithya. Brahman cannot be the cause. And therefore, this is how it is. Now, Swamiji, but you tell us one example. So, we have, I have given you example. We employ one prakriya here. That's called Adhyaropa Pavada Prakriya. In order to understand, in order to establish the relationship between Karanam and Karyam. We have done it. There are 4 stages in that. The first thing is, there is a pot. That's the first thing. That's Adhyaropa. Definitely. It's Adhyaropa, that there is a pot. Then what is the cause of the pot? That's the second thing. Then you say, well, the clay is a cause of the pot. And then you check the pot, you analyze the pot, and then you find that there is only clay. And therefore, well, you say there is no real pot. If there is no real pot, means there is no really creation of a pot. And what is there is just a clay alone. Then where is the question of calling clay as a cause? Where is the question of calling clay as a clay as a cause? Because you say where the pot itself is not there, the effect itself is not there, pot is mithya, then where is the question of calling clay as a cause now? The causal status of the clay also has gone. Could you follow what I am saying? So, this is Adhyaropa. Adhyaropa, in which you say there is a pot, and then you try to find the cause of a pot. Both steps are involved in Adhyaropa. Then in third step you start negating. What? Oh, there is no pot at all. Whatever is there is just a clay. That's a apavada, exception. Negation. And then fourth stage. Well, then there is clay is not a cause also of the pot. This is the Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya has a 4-step. 2-step belongs to Adhyaropa, 2-step belongs to Apavada. And therefore, this is Adhyaropa means creation. Take it as a creation. Okay. There is a pot. There is a world. What is the cause of the world? What is the cause of the pot? Clear? Both the steps are clear. So both steps belong to Adhyaropa. And then you analyze name and form. Oh, this is just Astibhati Priyam. Oh, this is etc. Oh, this is just Astibhati Priyam. Because really speaking, any form it does not, when you analyze a form vanishes and it reduces to another form. That form you analyze, it goes away. And on its place a new form comes. But form is, that form is, then the next form is, then the third form is, and form shines, etc. Astibhati, everything just continues. You are not able to negate Astibhati. And therefore, definitely, when you analyze any given name and form, you find it Astibhati Priyam. And therefore, we say, well, there is really not, There is really not a creation. There is no really a name and form. Whatever is there is Asthibhati Priyam. And therefore Asthibhati Priyam or Satchidananda is not the cause of also of the creation. Well, that is how we say. Same way, we start with the Karana Karya Prakriya, of course. And Brahman is said as a Jagat Karanam, etc. Well, but ultimately the Jagat is proved Mithya, like the pot is proved as a Mithya. And the very causal status also becomes Mithya. Of what? Of a Brahman. And Mithya is a word covering one's understanding of the reality of the object. There is no object called Mithya. This is we can understand. Like there is no object called beauty. There is no object called aesthetics. See, we say also. There is no object called, there is no object called aesthetic sense. It is a sense, basically. Aesthetism or whatever, I don't know. It's not an object. It's a basically, it does not exist anywhere but except in your understanding. Beauty is in your understanding. Beauty is not in object as such. Beauty is in your understanding. You cannot call this object is a beauty. And same way, Mithya also is it covers one's understanding of the reality of the object. Same way, Satyam also covers one's understanding of the reality of the object. So in my appreciation, it is there. There is no object as such. So anyway, this Satyam and Mithya, that is how Pujya Swamiji calls it as an ontological word, etc. They are related to our understanding of the reality. Anyway, if fact is Mithya, and if that is so, well, Brahman, the cause also, well, it loses its causal status. And so from the standpoint of creation, of course, well, Brahman assumes a causal status, known as, we call it as a Ishvara, etc. So Godhood, etc. also is in that way. You can understand the Ishvara also is a cause, but it is Mithya. Ishvara is not Mithya, the causal status is Mithya. Ishvara is Satyam in reality. Well, Jiva is Mithya means what? People say Jiva is Mithya. Jiva is Mithya means Jivatvam is Mithya. Jiva is Brahman, that is what the Mahavakya is. People say Jiva is Mithya, Jiva is Mithya. So don't throw baby along with the bathwater. So keep something. That is how Bhagatyaga Lakshana. See, understand, Bhagatyaga Lakshana means what? Partly you retain, partly you give up. So partly what is retained is the reality. That is the Satyam Brahma. So don't throw away. Jiva is Mithya and the Ishvara is Mithya and Jagat is Mithya. In Jagat also only name and form. Because name and form is proved as Asthibhati Priyam. Name and form, the reality of this is proved. Well, we are going to discuss that. Anyway, let me wait for some time. So basically, where the Mithya is, there itself the Satyam is, in fact. And there where the Mithya is, there itself Satyam is. Otherwise, Mithya is not possible. Mithya is not possible. When you say pot is Mithya means what? There itself you appreciate what is something Satyam, that is clay. So pot is Mithya. So where you say the Mithya, the location where you show it as a Mithya, there itself you have to tell something Satyam. Satyam is lying there, not a covered. It has covered your understanding. In fact, I could say pot is Satyam. Really, not me. Pujya Swamiji has told. Pot is Satyam because in your appreciation there is no pot but clay. There is no pot. Mithya means there is no pot. Don't think that Mithya pot means it has broken and clay has emerged from that. In your appreciation, that's how Pujya Swamiji calls it as a cognitive change. It's a merely cognitive change. Otherwise, Chandogya's Vakyam would be totally false. Chandogya says, Sarvam khalu idam Brahma, idam Jagat. Sarvam, including time, space and everything here, even the smallest particle is Brahman. How can you say otherwise? So, Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. And Chandogya says everything is Brahman. Means in your cognitive appreciation. what you are calling as a mithya is actually Satyam. If you look at it from the standpoint of Brahman. Could you follow? And therefore, you can say pot is mithya, I can say pot is Satyam. Because I don't see other than clay. I don't see other than clay. And therefore, for your understanding, I am using, word pot. Because you appreciate pot. What can I do? You appreciate pot. So I also use the word pot. But basically, it is clear. Where is pot? Where is pot? They ask the question like this. Where is pot? Anyway, you are able to appreciate everything what I am saying. Anyway, so now let's discuss about this mithya aspect also a little bit. Anyway, you have got a break in between of Sunday, and I must have enjoyed. And Monday morning I started with this Satya Mithya. But if this understanding is there, then Pratibodha Viditam will result into Brahmajnana. In just appreciation of invariable consciousness in every cognition, it is not Brahmajnana. It is not Brahmajnana. Invariable consciousness, that is Brahman, that is alone is Satyam, and therefore entire cognition is Satyam. The knower is Satyam, means knower is Brahman. The known is Brahman, and the very knowledge is Brahman. That's what I want to prove. That's what I want to prove. Pratibodham. Everything in the Bodha is consciousness. And therefore there is nothing else. There is nothing else. And thereby you can say, I am limitless. The subject, the consciousness, which is Shrotra Shrotram, that is me, that is this limitless Brahman. That is how we can say. And here there is no chance that you can objectify Brahman. And therefore, that is how we want to. So that's how we are struggling. For a few days we are struggling is because of this. Perhaps I may give you at the end the summary of what we have discussed. We'll see that. So basically, now let's discuss this, the creation which we call as a mithya. Why you call mithya? This also has been discussed in Tattvabodha, and we have discussed also very well there. But a few points from that, in order to prove the mithyatvam of the Jagat, we'll cover it here also. Very simple thing is there, you are able to appreciate it also. So, the whole creation is presented in the form of a gross and subtle elements, right? That's the model we have. So, Mithya Jagat, which consists of these 5 elements, and also elementals, includes one physical body, mind, sense complex. And if if you take this physical body now, and take this physical body, which you find right now, it is a reality, it is a part of Jagat, because our whole Jagat is made up of 5 elements. Here also you find 5 elements. It is part of Jagat. So to prove Jagat Mithyatvam, I can prove the Mithyatvam of the body. That's enough. I need not have to prove everything Mithya. If I prove body is Mithya, that's sufficient. And we require that, because ultimately we want to prove that in cognition whatever is there is Brahman alone. And so, if you separate everything from this body, you find the body is basically all made up of elements, or you can say body is made up of all elements in terms of carbon and hydrogen and these and that, etc., phosphorus and iron, and right. So if you take out a part of it from this body, then the part which has made this body, you give it a different name. Like you say, it is a carbon, one mineral. Let's say it's a carbon. Basically, carbon is a basic element, I consider. It is organic, and therefore the carbon is there. And therefore I say, once I take out the component of the body out, then I find it's carbon, mineral. It is not me, you say. It is not me. It is carbon. It is hydrogen. It is phosphorus. It is hydrogen. It is oxygen. Whatever. Water, in terms of water. So all elements are there, and body is vanished. Body is vanished. You get a heap of all elements, minerals. And none of that you tell it as a body. Not only that, you don't tell it as yourself also. If all the component, if you put it out, you won't say it as a body, You won't say it as a yourself also. It's very amazing thing. Outside, in a lunch plate, there are pudis, big pudis, chole pudi, big pudis, full of, I think, immersed in oil. And so it is fat, it is fat, it is fat, you are saying. And once you eat, well, you don't say that I am plus fat. You say I am fat. What happens to, amazing, that outside it is there, and the same thing goes inside, it becomes a component of I. And you don't have that kind of in your mind that, I has included one more component. In one homogeneous I, it has been absorbed. So it is very amazing thing that this, so far as the physical body is concerned. So the body also is a part of Jagat. And it is, if it is part of Jagat, it is easy to relate to this body in this manner, that when all the elements, if they are in the form of a hip, you don't call it body. Well, but the body is made up of all this. But if whatever has been come out of this body, if you make a hip, you can call it body or not. I will give you another example. Suppose a flower is there. You take out every petal. Then you remove the stamen. You remove the pollens. Now you make a hip. Is it flower or not? It's a flower. It's a flower because you have taken out everything and put. Then you call it as a flower because you have, just segregated all the parts and put. Why are you not calling? You may call it as a pollen. You may say like it also, it's a heap of pollen plus stamen plus petals, but you are not telling as a flower. What does it indicate? There is a word flower, but there is no corresponding object called flower. Otherwise call it, because you are calling it as a flower. Suppose you consider this is flower, because in my room there is no flower right now. Consider this as a flower. I remove everything and put it in front of me. I should call it as a flower. Why not? Because nothing has gone out. Whatever is there, I have put it in the form of a heap, a small bunch. I should call it as a flower. But you don't call it. You give another names, pollen and stamen and this and petals. I say it is all nothing but this flower only. You call it as a flower. No. Means what? There is a word flower, but there is no corresponding object. There is no corresponding object. That is called mithya. Body is there, right? Physical body. You use word physical body, but if you put it out all the components like petals and everything outside, you will call Swamiji it is a heap of minerals. I say you call it body. Because it is nothing but whatever is here, you are putting it out. But you say, no, I will not call it body. If you want, I will call that this is a carbon mineral, this is this mineral, this is that mineral. You are using another names. You are using other words. You are not telling it is a body. I said it is nothing of 1 ounce also has gone out somewhere. Then why don't you call it as body? But you are not telling. That shows very clearly that physical body, that word you are using, but there is no corresponding object. There is no corresponding object. This is how it is. And therefore, physical body, example of physical body is sufficient to say the entire world is mithya. How? It is not how. It is not how. It is physical body is also made up of minerals and materials and all 5 elements and entire world also. Like this form, every form is made up of that way. And therefore, basically, this body is a part of world. If body is a mithya, for the word physical body, if there is no corresponding object body, then definitely, the entire, body is a mithya, and therefore entire world also is a mithya. And what makes this body alive? Now let's go inside. What makes this body alive is this Sukshma Sharira, and which is given to this physical body. And that Sukshma Sharira also is again a combination of things. And you take it out all combination, like 5 senses. We make also, we have given a definition also, right? If you know the definition, that the subtle body is made up of 17 elements and all. Pancha Jnanendriyani, Pancha Karmendriyani, Pancha Pranaha, and Manobuddhi, Ahankara, Chittam. And therefore all 19 elements, let's say. Sometimes they use Manaha Buddhi and then Chittam and Ahankara they combine. Whatever, let's consider all the 4. All 19 components. Like a flower. Flower has many components, right? And you have removed and put a I mean it's all bunch there. Same way even subtle body also, you take it out every component. You see, you should tell subtle body. Suppose if I take out my, imagine, I take out my subtle eye. Subtle eye, that is the one which is responsible for seeing, the Indriya. So it should be a subtle body. Because subtle body has a 17 components. If I take out one component, and I should call it as a subtle body, ultimately all components are mixed, combined together is a subtle body. So you will give a new name. You will tell it as a eye and ear and this and that. Okay, no problem. Swamiji, a part is a part and whole is a whole. Somebody told me. Pennsylvania is a Pennsylvania, United States is the United States. You cannot call Pennsylvania as United States. Okay, no problem. We call it, but because if I am in Ahmedabad, and if I say, if they are asking me, where are you going? I am not saying that I am going to Pennsylvania. I say I am going to US. But I know in US where I am going. So basically, but anyway, all the components I put it out. Right? Nothing goes out. All the 17, 19 components I am putting out. But I can call it as a subtle body or not. I can call it subtle body, but I am not calling. I say it is all a bunch of indriyas, karmendriyas, bunch of jnanendriyas and bunch of pranas and bunch of this, mind etc. is there. You say it is a bunch of all. Say it is subtle body. No. You won't say. Exactly like flower. All the petals and everything in a heap. You will say it is a bunch of petals. You will not say it is flower. Then what is flower? What is the object called flower? For the word flower, what is the object? Oh, Swamiji, that earlier before you have plucked out everything, what was there was flower. But what was it ultimately? It was petals? Yeah. It was stamen? Yeah. And it was all this pollen and everything? Yeah. So that's what it is right now. That's what it is in your front. Call it flower. No. Okay. If there is no corresponding object for a given word, that thing is mithya. That thing is mithya. How you have brought this definition? This is the Pratigna Vakyam of the Chandogya. Vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam mrittika ityeva satyam. Vacharambhanam. Vikaraha means this entire creation, the effect. The whole effect, the entire creation is Vacharambhanam. Vacharambhanam means its reality is just in the name, just in the word. There is nama matram. Vacharambhanam, vikaraha, namadheyam. Namadheyam means nama matram. So just, word is there. Corresponding to that object is not there. Mrittika ityeva satyam. The clay alone is the reality. Means for the word pot, which has arisen from your speech, vacharambhanam. Vak alambanam yasya iti vacharambhanam. And so the word which has a basis in the vacha, for that word there is no corresponding object. You have a word pot, correct. You have a word pot, but there is no corresponding object pot in the creation. Mrittika ityeva satyam. The clay alone is the reality. This is how the mithya is. Entire creation is mithya. We are not much interested in creation right now, but the subtle body and the gross body also is equally mithya. And the cause, the Brahman, the consciousness is satyam. And we'll see that tomorrow, how this knower known and everything is just satyam Brahma. You can understand now very well Whatever is there in cognition, well, is for that there is no corresponding object. Ultimately, all is one Brahman alone. That's what it means. Mrittika ittiva satyam. In our case, in case of pot and clay, clay is satyam. In our case, whatever is there as a knower, there is a name knower. The reality is Brahman. There is a name known object of knowledge. It is Brahman. The very thought is Brahman. So whole cognition is Brahman, which is invariable consciousness present in every cognition. In fact, entire cognition is Brahman. This is called Brahmajnana. We call it Akhandakara Vritti, means knower, known and knowledge. Everything is Brahman. This is how we are proving. Tomorrow it will be over. Don't worry. So thanks for your lot of patience for listening to this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Now I have a very quick question.